Hello everybody, this is Classroom Chess with another video on the beautiful game of chess. In previous videos we have covered all the pieces and we learned how they move. Every piece, the king, the queen, the rook, the bishop, the knight and the pawn moves in a specific way, and I showed you how those pieces move on the chessboard. Today we're going to play our first real game, and I want to show you about checkmate. You might have heard about this term, checkmate, because it's often used not even when people are talking about chess. Checkmate is the goal of the game. In many other games you have to try to win all your opponent's men and then you won the game. Not in chess. In chess, the goal is to capture your opponent's king. Once you won the king, you won the game. It doesn't matter if you lose all your other pieces, as long as you can win your opponent's king, that you can checkmate your opponent's king, then you won the game. And I will show you how this works with an example, our first chess game that we're going to play together. And it is the shortest game possible, and it's called the Fool's Mate, because only fools will fall for this way to get checkmated. So remember this game, remember the moves you do not want to make, because otherwise you will be checkmated very quickly. So let's see. It's also important to know that it's always white who starts the game. So if you have the white pieces, then you can make the first move. And in this case, the white player makes the first move of the pawn from f2 to f3. As we learned, the pawn could also go in one move from f2 to f4, but in this case the white player decides to move the pawn to f3, which he can do. Now it's black's turn, and black also decides to make a move with his pawn, and he moves his pawn from e7 to e5. So he moves it 2 squares, which is allowed on the first move. Every pawn can move from its initial square either 1 or 2 squares. So now it's white's turn again for his second move. And white decides to move his pawn from g2 to g4, which of course is a perfectly legal move. You can move your pawn up 2 squares. But it's also a big mistake, because we're only 2 moves into the game, and now black can already win the game. Quite incredible. Because what black can do is he can play his queen, and if you remember how the queen moves, and if you don't, you might want to go back to the video on the queen. But the queen can move as many squares as she wants, straight or across. And in this case the black player moves the queen from d8 all the way down to h4. And the black player will say checkmate and won the game. So why is this checkmate? What does that mean? Well, with the queen on h4 you can see that the queen is now attacking the white king. In one move, the queen could go from h4 to e1 to capture the king, if it was black's move. But it's not black's move, it's white's move. So we say the king is in check, because the king is attacked by another piece. In this case, the king is attacked by the queen on h4. And because you cannot lose your king, so you have to do something about that. Well, in this case, because white played such unfortunate moves, There's no way that white can get out of the check. Let's look at it. Can white move his king away? Well, the only square he can move his king to is f2. But that is no good, because the queen from h4 will still be able to take the king on f2. So that move doesn't work. Is there something else we can do? Can we, for example, capture the queen on h4? Can we take her with one of our pieces so that she will be out of the game? Well, unfortunately we can't. The pawn on g4 only can take pieces on f5 or h5, and the pawn on h2 could go in one move to h4, but not really, because it can only move straight and only capture across. So it cannot go to h4, it could go to h3, but that doesn't really help. The rook can't do anything, can't make any moves. The knight could go 2 up and 1 to the side to h3, but that is no good, because that would not stop the queen capturing the king. The bishop on f1 cannot do anything, cannot capture the queen. Nothing can be put in between the queen and the king. None of the pieces can go on to f2 or g3 to stop the queen capturing the king. And all the pieces on the other side of the board cannot do anything either. The white king is trapped by its own pieces. And on the next move, the black queen will take the white king. So here the game stops. It is checkmate. So the white player has to shake the black player's hand and say, well played, checkmate in 2 moves. Because there's nothing white can do to save his king. So this was our first game of chess. And in the next video we play another one. Just to show you the idea of checkmate, and again to show how all the pieces work. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.